What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. 9mm ammo test series continued. We're on to number 6. We recently finished 1 through 5, did a low light test on that. Now we're on for 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. To start this batch of testing out, we're going to go with Winchester Defender 9mm 147 grain bonded jacketed hollow point. This one has an advertised muzzle velocity of 1,000 feet per second, translating out to an energy foot-pounds of 326. They have a semi-segmented jacketed hollow point there. Maybe that's what you would call that. Pretty deep. Overall, they're kind of tarnished looking, a little bit older. They're in nickel cases, but they do just look a little bit dirty from the factory. They do say that this has some low flash powder in it, so we'll find that out when we do our low light testing. But in general, I have found Winchester Defenders, even if they look a little dirty here and there, they tend to perform really well. So let's see how they do out of these 9mm today. The two firearms we're going to be using today are the 3.1-inch Smith Wesson 9mm Shield Gen 1 and the 4.5-inch Glock 17. And I don't know if it matters, but that's a Gen 5. We're going to be putting 5 rounds through each one of these firearms into these B8 targets. And I always have to say this, we do our accuracy testing offhand. We'll be 20 feet off the paper, 15 feet off the chronograph, but I don't use a bench or a rest or anything like that because in a real life defensive shooting, you would not have those luxuries, so we are checking for practical accuracy. As long as this chronograph behaves itself today, we'll get an average of velocity and foot-pounds. Then we're going to move the chronograph to right in front of the block of gel so that we can capture the velocity of the bullets as they impact the gel. And we have 2 brand new 10% clear ballistics gel blocks, 16 inches apiece, for a total of 32 inches. Testing explained, let's get to shooting. All right, 15 feet off the chronograph, 20 feet off of the target, left B8. Let's see how we can do with a little shorty shield. Feels really nice in the hand. We got a 999, so that's only 1 off from the 1,000 that they said, and that was out of a 3.1-inch barrel. And 990. $10.02. $967. And $986. Let's go take a look. I almost got a perfect score. So darn it, my excuses is that we switch guns all the time for testing, and then I have to get reused to the sights, and darn it, that was my first shot. After that, boy, this thing shoots really accurate with this ammunition. So that is completely my fault right there. I'm not making excuses of why I couldn't do it. I'm making excuses of why I screwed it up. The rest of those landed right where they needed to be. That feels really nice in the hand. I know it's 9mm, it's not that much, but we did achieve the velocities that they said on the box, and we did it with this short barrel. Let's see how this translates over to the Glock. All right, that's gonna be pretty hard to top, but hopefully I don't have to have an excuse this time and we get all 5 in the bullseye. Already screwed it up, but 1025. $10.12. Gosh, Glocks have a long trigger, and I shot really high that time. $10.71. $10.58, and it does feel like a total baby out of this gun. And $10.45. Let's take a look. So that was my first shot, and then I completely winged one up here somehow, and then I got it back where it needed to be. We got U-notch sights versus the 3-dot white sights over here on the Shield. I mean, I like these sights, are not bad if you get used to shooting them, but in general, that's still really good accuracy. Both of these are totally 100% completely acceptable for defensive accuracy. I always say that if you stay in the black, no matter what, however you're shooting, if you're in the black, you're going to be doing pretty good on defensive style shooting. I don't like those really big, huge targets that people shoot at all the time. Aim small, miss small. All right, 147 grain Winchester Defender, 3.18-inch barrel into the gel, the brand new gel that we're going to wreck now. Hopefully we didn't leave the block, and we did not get a chronograph reading. I was too far to the left, but let's take a look. All right, by some miracle, I ended up hitting there and did not leave the block. I just said how accurate that was out of that gun, and then I shoot that left. I was trying to shoot low, but anyway, nice entrance wound, very consistent. I mean, for a 9mm, I'm not trying to pick on 9mm, but we shoot a ton of 10mm, 45, 450 SMC, 45 Super, things like that. Check out those gel tests, and you'll see what I mean. But for a 9mm, it did its job. It opened up, it hollow pointed itself, and it made one big piercing wound track with an okay, moderate size permanent wound cavity. It almost left that block. I'm pretty sure it tried to get it right out the end and then it bounced back. So I'm gonna have to call that at 16 inches with a bounce back to about 15.5. I'll put the tape on it just because. So there you go, 15.5. If it was 16, it would be leaving the block, but it did not. Let's take a look from the top. All right, coming in from the top, that wound channel does look a little bit better, just the way it is at the angle that you can see it. But then we get back down to that piercing wound track all the way down to the end where the bullet is obviously opened up and laying in there. We'll get it dug out after the next shot, but for now, that's what we got. It does look much better from the top. You can definitely see some disruption. So it did dump a little energy right there at the beginning. All right, let's see if more barrel length equals more speed to get more puncture, or if it opens up the hollow point more and it slows it down. 4.5-inch barreled Glock 17. All right, 1045. .45. All right, there's the entrance for that one. And coming around to the side, we have almost an identical looking wound path all the way down. You could argue that from this angle at least, there appears to be a tiny bit more disruption. Being a brand new gel block, we have that distorted look. Until you remelt them one time, you kind of get like a weird wobbly effect in there. They both ended up at almost the same place. I would say this one rested just a hair more forward, but they had the same bounce back. If you look carefully, you can see, I think at this moment, they had pretty much the same amount of go through, almost 16 inches, and then bounce back. Let's take a look from the top. All right, from the top, side by side, they both do look similar again. Except for this one, if you look right there at that part, that could be just how we're looking at it, but it might have continued that wound track just a little bit more on the violent side. Especially here, it looks like it did some sort of a wobble. It's really cool sometimes how you see two different things from two different angles on the gel. But yeah, it looks like it could be a little bit more violent. And then when it ended up down here, it's turned around a little bit, still opened up. We'll get these things dug out for you and take a look, but not too bad right there. I think that the Glock, I'm gonna go ahead and say I think the Glock did just a little bit better. All right, as bonded bullets typically do, these stayed together pretty well. They look very similar. This is the Shield, this is the Glock. I think we could say that the Glock flattened itself out just a hair more. You can see that there's a little bit of a difference right there in the middle. Turning them on their side, you can see that they've done pretty much the same thing. You can kind of roll them around and look, they've all pedaled back uniformly. With the bonded bullet, the lead does not come off of the copper jacket as easily. Sometimes it still does, but not as easy. Turning them over, we do see an exposed lead bottom. And then they look pretty much the same, really. We'll have the scale on the corner and the size, but pretty much the same thing with just a very slight difference in performance. We also saw it's very accurate, and we saw that it's very shootable. There you go. We compiled the info for you. Use it as you see fit. Hope you enjoy this type of testing. Thank you for watching this video, and until we see you next time, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting.